ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं अंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Okay, today we are beginning with the previous life of Vratrasura, the story of Maharaj Chitrakethu. This story is again a long story. We desire to cover half the story today and half the story next week, Krishna willing. The initially, um, um, I will go little faster because we many of us know the story of Maharaj Chitrakethu. Those who don't know, they will be able to follow easily along with me, because it's just storyline, and then we will put more focus on the second half of today's discussion. We'll put more focus on second half of today's discussion, um, because it's more philosophical. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadev Goswami. This is right after Vritrasura was his head. He went back to Godhead, Vritrasura, and it took 1 year for Indra to send him back home, back to Godhead. Um, and Maharaj Parikshit was deeply inspired, surprised, um, by the devotion of Vritrasura, and that brought him to this question. So Maharaj Parikshit, we see lot of inquisitiveness between um, Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami. So Maharaj Parikshit asked, inquired, O learned Brahmanas, demons are generally sinful, being obsessed with the modes of passion and ignorance. How then could Vritrasura have attained such exalted love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan? How is it possible that he was such a great devotee of Lord Narayan? And Maharaj Parikshit now in the next four verses shares his own realization how rare is devotee of Krishna or Narayan. And demigods situated in mode of goodness and great saints cleansed of dirt of material enjoyment hardly ever render pure devotional service at the lotus feet of Mukunda. Therefore, how could Vritrasura have become such a great devotee? Even demigods render mixed devotional service. Great sages, uh, um, even great saints, even when they have no material desire, um, for them to surrendered to lotus feet of Krishna, that is also very rare. Um, how could Vritrasura have attained such a position? In this material world, there are as many living entities as atoms. Among living entities, a very few are human beings, and among them, few are interested in following the religious principles. Um, how many living entities are there? Infinite. Um, every blade of grass, germ, and all these microscopic entities, they're all spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna. So they are practically unlimited living entities. Among unlimited living entities, taking a human birth itself is very very rare. In fact, we also see in Shrimad Bhagavatam, Krishna explains, um, even demigods are desiring to take a human birth, because human birth is a prerogative from where we can attain the lotus feet of Krishna. It is very difficult to attain that state even from heavenly planets. So like atoms, there are so many living entities. Human birth is very rare. Among human, if you go out today and see how many people are following religious principles, are following um, um, true dharma, how many? Most of the people are running after sense gratification. Most of them. Very few are interested in following religious principles. Out of those who follow dharma, only a few desire liberation. And among many thousands who desire liberation, one person becomes liberated. So to get liberation itself is so rare. And then this is one of the most famous verse of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Mukta nam api siddha nam narayana parayana. Sudurlabham prasantatma kotish api mahamune. Um, Mukta Nam Api Siddha Nam. So there are two kind of people. Mukta Nam are liberated souls, and Siddha Nam are those who are mystical sages and who have this other kind of knowledge, who lives in Siddha Lok, which is higher planetary systems, the planet of sages. Um, Among them also, how rare is Narayana Parayana? Narayana Parayana means pure devotee of Narayan. Um, how rare? Sudurlabha Prasantatma Kotish Api Mahamune. Mahamune is referring to Sukadev Goswami. Kotish, O Sukadev Goswami, O great sage. Koti is millions. Kotish means among millions and millions. Um, um, to find a person who is desiring liberation, first of all, human birth is so rare. Among human, to find a person who is following religious principle is so rare. Um, Karma, jnana, any path, who is following any path of spiritual progress is so rare. Among those, to find those who are actually desiring liberation is so rare. Among those, a liberated person is so rare. Um, think about it. How many people are free from lust, anger, envy, greed, pride? How many people are free from it? Extremely rare. Even those who are desiring liberation, those who are liberated are actually liberated are extremely rare. And among those who are liberated and who are siddhas, perfected mystic yogis, to find a pure devotee of Narayan, that's like among millions and millions of liberated souls are actually Narayana Parayana. Um, mm, um, how could Vratrasura in a body of a demon be a Narayana Parayana? Uh, um, O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be devotee of Lord Narayana or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. Uh, Prabhupada writes in the purport, unless the dirt within the core of one's heart is cleansed away, one cannot become a pure devotee. Therefore, the word Sudurlabha, very rarely found, is used in this verse. Not only among hundreds and thousands, but among millions of perfectly liberated souls, a pure devotee is hardly ever found. Um, those who take to the path of devotional service, who are chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, who are desiring in that direction, um, um, pure bhakti, I mean, um, extremely rare. Um, Yugal Kishore Prabhu says 1 in million actually follows Krishna consciousness. It's so rare to find such people who have that inclination to serve Krishna. Um, Madhvacharya says there are 90 million demigods and 70 million sages who are all Narayanayana, devotees of Lord Narayan. Among them, only a few are called Narayana Parayana. So Narayanayana is he quotes from one of the scripture Tantra Bhagavat, and he says Narayanayana are the devotees of the Lord, but they still have desires. Like demigods still have desires, those sages in higher planets still have their own desires. So they are devotees of the Lord. If when Indra performs worship, Vishnu appears, they are devotees of the Lord. So they are Narayanayana. Among those thousands and hundreds and thousands and millions of demigods and sages, you will hardly find any Narayana Parayana. So the surprise, how could Vratrasura be such a Narayana Parayana? This is something which shows unlimited living entities, few are karmis, jnanis, vanaprastha, sannyasis, and if you keep boiling it down, then you finally see devotee of Narayana and Krishna and various rasas. So it is extremely rare. So apparently, clearly, Sukadev Goswami was very pleased with Maharaj Parikshit and his understanding of how rare is the devotee of Krishna. So Srila Sukadev Goswami said, O king, I shall speak to you the same history I have heard from the mouths of Vyasadev, Narada, Devala. Please listen with attention. Um, तस्या भार्या सहस्राणां सहस्राणि दशाभवन् शान्तनिकश्चापि नृपो नालेभेताशु सन्ततिम्. Okay. O King Parikshit, in the province of Surasena, there was a king named Chitrakethu who ruled the entire earth. Previously, the kings used to rule the entire earth, like even Maharaj Yudhishthir and Maharaj Parikshit. This Chitraketu had 10 million wives. Um, One should not. Srila Prabhupada writes somewhere in the first canto, he says in third chapter that one should not have doubts in in the words of Srimad Bhagavatam. The reason Prabhupada says the reason one has doubts in the words of Srimad Bhagavatam is we compare Srimad Bhagavatam with our current situation. With like we are kind of conditioned with this earth planet and this way of life, and that's why these material scientists, when they hear such um, numbers, then because it does not match with their experience, they have a tendency to reject the scriptures or call it an imagination. Just like it is described, Krishna has um, Ananta Koti cows and how all the details, even Krishna, it seems like how can it fit in such a small land of Vrindavan? Millions of cows. How can Krishna has that? So these are not just numbers. If you see in the verse, it says Sahasranam, Sahasra is thousand. Sahasranam, Sahasrani, thousand into thousand, Dasa Bhavan into 10. So it's 10 into thousand into so it's 10 into thousand into thousand, that becomes 1 second. Sham Kishore Prabhu? Yes. Dandapanda. Hare Krishna. Okay. Um, so Sahasranam, Sahasrani, Dasha Bhavan. 1,000 into 1,000 into 10, that become 10 million wives. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, but they all were um, um, they all could not produce a um, santan. Santan is putra, children, any children. But although he was capable of producing children, he did not receive a child from any of them. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives how he had 10 million wives, 10 into 1,000 to 1,000. He married them in order to have offspring, santanika, not just for enjoyment. This is commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Um, by the will of the Lord, no children. Chitrakethu, though endowed with beauty, magnanimity, youth, high family education, power, wealth, was full of anxiety because he was the husband of barren wives. What a rare situation. Practically every woman, mostly, every woman has children, mostly. How rare it is that a king married 10 million wives and no children. Extremely unheard of. So, Srila Prabhupada says material nature is, everyone in material nature is unhappy because something they desire they don't have. Everyone is looking for something. Some people don't have power, some don't have wealth, some don't have education, some don't have family, some don't have good youth or good beauty, etc. So everyone is in some kind of anxiety. Um, and Chitrakethu Maharaj has his own anxiety. I don't. All the all the wives are barren. 10 million wives. They are all barren. His wealth, his queens, um, with attractive eyes. Oh, okay, okay. Um, his wealth, his queens with attractive eyes, and his control of all land were not sources of happiness for him. It is described his wives are very beautiful, attractive eyes, wealth, he had everything, but he was not receiving happiness because he has an unfulfilled desire. Srimad Bhagavatam explains um, um, there is always something or the other which we are missing. um, Vehicle is not proper, health is not proper, children's health is not proper, spouse is not behaving properly, some problem in the office is not going on, some situation in the office is not very pleasing. So everyone's life is kind of, there are always something missing, and that becomes a source of misery for them. Prabhupada writes, certainly his grief was natural. Grihastha life does not mean having a wife and no children. Chanakya Pandit said, Putra hinam griham sunyam. If a family man has no children, his home is no better than a desert. So, um, yeah, children are important in family life. The purpose of family life is twofold. One, to give birth to Krishna conscious children, and second, um, association of a person who can help us in devotional service. These are the two reasons one should get married. Once upon a time, when the powerful sage named Angira was traveling all over the universe without engagement, by his sweet will, he came to a place of King Chitraketu. Chitraketu immediately stood up from his throne, sat on the lotus feet of the great sage, and offered him worship. So, one instance when he was lamenting throughout his life, Angira Muni came to him. The sage Angira said, O King Chitraketu, I can observe that your mind is not pleased. We cannot hide anything from a saintly person. By looking at us, they know what is going on in our heart. Um, So Angira said, I can see that you are not happy. Something is disturbing you. You seem not to have achieved your desired goal. Is this because of you yourself, or has it been caused by others? Your pale face reflects your deep anxiety. What is the cause? The sage inquired. Why you are so unhappy? Chitraketu decided to reveal his mind to sage Angira. We should reveal our mind to saintly people. Chitraketu did that. My opulence does not please me. Chitraketu says, I have everything: 10 million wives, power, beauty, youth, strength. I am the king of this world. I have everything, but it does not please me. Although they are desirable, even demigods are looking for such opulence that I have. Still, I am not happy. My position is like hungry and thirsty man who is not pleased by garlands and sandalwood pulp. Please help me get a son. Um, if a person is thirsty and hungry, you give him garland, you put sandalwood pulp. It's like a sign of great respect. But you need water. Likewise, I have everything, but lack of sun is making me miserable. Give me a son. This is the sage's mercy. Merciful Angira performed a sacrifice. He gave the remnants of food offered in the yajna to Krita duty. So among 10 million wives, the first wife, the foremost was Krita duty, her name. He performed a yajna and gave the remnants of food offered in yajna to the first wife. And he told him, "You will your son," there is r missing in somehow, "your son will be the cause of lamentation and jubilation, harsha shoka," and left without waiting for Chitraketu's response. Okay. The sage, one of the quality of a sage is, after they give benediction or they do something good for others, um, and they don't wait for glorification, they immediately exit. So after he gave the benediction, Mahachitraketu will be filled with gratitude and words, but sage immediately left without waiting for response of Chitraketu. Therefore, in due course of time, a son was born to the king. Hearing news of this, all the inhabitants of the state of Surasena were extremely pleased. Maharaj Chitraketu invited Brahmanas to offer benedictions and gave charity of gold, silver, elephants, villages, and 600 million cows. Like a cloud pour water, he gave all desirables to everyone. This is usually done, and this should be performed is when a child is born, the Brahmana should be pleased. There should be charity. There is Vasudev gave charity in mind because he was in prison house, but when he came out, he gave charity of thousands of cows, and everything is described. Nanda Maharaj, when Krishna was born, he gave charity. Um, so this is a Vedic tradition. So Chitraketu gave this charity of hasti, silver, gold. Um, um, Delhi. Delhi was previously called Hastinapur because it was filled with hasti. It was filled with elephants. If you go in that time to Delhi, you see so many elephants. Elephants is a sign of a king because it is very difficult to maintain an elephant. Not everybody can maintain elephant, and the kings would maintain thousands and millions of elephants. So that's why this place was called all over the world as Hastinapur, but which was actually the capital of the whole world, which is New Delhi now. King Chitraketu and Kritadeuti affection for his son increased day after day. The other wives, seeing Kritadeuti's son, were very much agitated, as if by high fever, with a desire to have sons. Maharaj Chitraketu's affection for Queen Kritadeuti increased, and gradually he lost affection for the other wives who had no sons. This is a mistake of Maharaj Chitraketu. Um, he showed affection towards one wife because of something he got from her, and he neglected the others. The other wives, we will see that the other wives became envious, but along with their fault, it is his Maharaj Chitrakethu fault also. He started neglecting them. Just like when people have multiple wives, they become more affectionate toward those who is beautiful and neglect those who are not, and causing the others to become envious naturally. Um, the other queens were extremely unhappy due to their being sonless. Because of the king's negligence towards them, they condemned themselves in envy and lamented. They were trying to fight with their emotions, but it was too difficult. They were neglected and they didn't had son. Naturally, Prabhupada says a woman who is married, she wants son, she wants a child. So they were already in such a lamentful situation that we don't have any children, and then when we want something which others get it, it is even more painful. On the top, the king, because everybody wants love and affection, and the king started neglecting all these queens. So it was like their heart was burning. And Sajati means one person is suffering, another is suffering, they all become friends. So all these queens, they all came together and they all were internally uh, suffering because of all these reasons. A wife who has no sons is neglected at home by her husband and dishonored by her co-wives, exactly like a maid servant. Certainly, such a woman is condemned in every respect due to her sinful life. Whatever we go through is because of our past. So, um, even Krita Duty was, because of her previous past, was not eligible to get a son, but it was Angira's mercy, and we will see that later on when Angira comes back. It was just Angira's mercy that she got a son. And they were being treated like maid servants by the king and the foremost queen and others. Sri Sukadev Goswami continued, being neglected by their husband and seeing Kritadyuti's opulence in possessing a son, Kritadyuti's co-wife always burned in envy, which became extremely strong. Envy was increasing. And um, Kritadyuti was the center of attraction because she fulfilled king's desire. The whole kingdom would bow down to Kritadyuti. Oh, she is the mother of the prince, because the son will become the next king of the planet. Um, and Kritadyuti was respected, opulence, and everybody else was being neglected by their husband, by the society, and they were treated just as maid servants. So they, although were in a similar position as Kritadyuti in a way, um, so their envy became extremely strong. As their envy increased, they lost their intelligence. Um, Being extremely hard hearted and unable to tolerate the king's neglect, they finally administered poison to the son. Um, Now, to kill somebody, you really need to be hard hearted. How can you? I mean, to kill a human being, it requires a very hard heart. But that envy made them hard hearted, that neglect. And then they poisoned him and they killed him. Their intelligence was lost. Um, Unaware of the poison administered by her co wives, um, Kitadyuti, the mother, was not aware. She walked within the house. She was only thinking that her son was just sleeping. She could not understand that he was actually dead. Um, Thinking that the child is sleeping for a very long time, Krita Duty, who was intelligent, told the nurse, "Bring my son here. Why he is sleeping for so long?" So when the maid servant, approached the child, she noticed that his eyes was turned up, and there was no sign of life, all his senses, no breathing, and she could understand that the child was dead. Seeing this, she struck her chest and cried loudly in regretful words. She started shouting, screaming. Um, this maid servant, Krita duty. As soon as he heard, she understood. She got the fear in her heart. She understood something is not normal. She got a fear, but she doesn't want to think about it. So, her hair and dress in disarray, she started running. And when she went and she saw the child situation, eyes were upside down and no senses, no breathing. She fainted. Sometimes the grief is less, then we cry, and sometimes the grief is so much that we can't even believe it, or accept it. Then that cause just faint. So she became unconscious, but she very soon she came back to consciousness. Everybody heard when the maid servant cried loudly, and she started beating her chest, and she's crying on top of her voice. um, Everybody came when they heard, and slowly the news spread. The news also went to the king. Everybody started coming to the room. Hearing the loud crying, all the inhabitants of the palace came, both men and women. Being equally aggrieved, everybody began to cry. The queens who had administered the poison also cried pretentiously. They were doing pretension. They were actually happy within their heart. Um, that's the nature of envy. When the person we are envious of is deprived of something, um, um, then it gives lot of pleasure to the envious soul. The happiness of an envious person comes by seeing others distress. But then there is false ego. So false ego is like, um, um, I don't want others to know that I am a bad person. So they do the wrong thing and they show sympathy, but their sympathy is very superficial. That's the nature of this material world. The sympathy that people show in this material world is very superficial, because anybody who has desire for sense enjoyment, their affection for others is only superficial. And it can be seen that the moment things don't go wrong, they give up those relationships. So it's very superficial. Even husband wife relationship, especially in America, that's why it's all based on sense gratification. The day you make me upset, I will divorce you. You don't speak sweetly to me, you don't satisfy me, go to hell. So this is like everyone is just a sense enjoyer. Real affection comes only when we become selfless. And we see that in the Dichi Muni pastime. Unless one is selfless, one cannot feel for others' pain. Or yeah. So the queen pretentiously they also cried, um, knowing full well their offense, that I am the cause of it, the whole suffering that everybody goes through. When envy comes in the heart, um, envy now, we have discussed in Bhagavad Gita before that we are envious of every living entity, even our own um, spouse. And we see that here, that the as long as the king was, as long as nobody has children, the king was giving lot of affection and love to all the queens, and the queens were satisfied. They were very happy. They were well-wisher of Chitraketu and their husband. But when they were hurt, um, they knew very well that the person I love the most, my own spouse, husband, will suffer miserably because his only happiness now is that he has a son. But because their happiness, their suffering was, um, um, they were unhappy, they didn't care about anybody else's happiness. We know Srila Prabhupada says the person one loves the most is oneself, and Dadichi Muni says the same thing. In this material world, one loves only oneself. Only a self realized soul, he is willing to sacrifice his own life for others. Um, um, So now the king came to know, and when Maharaj Chitrakettu heard of his son's death, he became almost blind because he could not see, because so many tears were coming out from him. Because of his great affection for his son, his lamentation grew like a blazing fire. Now, our misery when somebody dies is also based on our attachment. Um, the amount of attachment we cultivate, that amount of misery also comes. Like Yugal Kishore Prabhu was once telling that he was in a program and there was a husband and a wife, and the wife got the news that her mother passed away, and the wife was crying, 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 and the husband was okay. He was still um, sober, but that's not a spiritual dhira, because he's sober just because he doesn't have attachment to her. As a spiritually dhira person um, is neutral in all situations, but uh, and he feels the pains for everyone. But a materially attached person, he feels the pain only when somebody he loves goes away, and to the extent one loves that person, to that extent pain comes. Some far relative goes away, all right, little pain. Somebody whom we are close to goes away, then unbearable. So like that. So Maharaj Chitraketu became almost blind. This was his only desire. I want a son. And he got it, and they are killed. He doesn't know how. Shivan Bhagavatam does not even reveal. There was nothing like doctors came to know post-mortem. No, dead, dead. Nobody knows how. This is the olden times. Because of his great affection for his son, his lamentation grew like a blazing fire. And as he went to see the dead child, he kept slipping and falling to the ground. He was not able to walk, he was not able to see. So he would stumble, he would slip, he would fall, he would get up, and he became like a madman. The king approached and fell unconscious at the child's feet, his hair and dress scattered. Um, 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 when the king, breathing heavily, regained consciousness, his eyes were tearful and he could not speak. The king doesn't know what to do, what to say. He was he was bowing down to the child's feet, and he was just crying. In the meantime, Kritadyuti, the mother of the child, the foremost wife, she came to her consciousness, and she sees her husband's lamentation and dead son. So one side the son is dead, her husband is crying like a madman. So she started cursing Creator. The queen curses the creator. Alas, O providence, O creator, you are certainly inexperienced in creation. For during the lifetime of a father, you have caused the son of his death. You are certainly the enemy of living entities and are never merciful. You are very cruel. Um, how can you do this? You took the son before the father. You are very inexperienced. Your creation is useless. You are actually the enemy of everyone. So Srila Prabhupada writes here, this is a way a conditioned soul condemns the supreme creator when he meets reverses. Even devotees whose devotion is not mature, when something does not go right in their life, they criticize Krishna. Like one devotee told me, I was little surprised. He was not able to chant nicely for 4 5 days, and he went to the temple, our Radha Gopijana Vallabha, and he started blaming Krishna. How can you do this to me? I am doing whatever I can, and you don't have any heart. I am suffering so much. Now that's not a way one should approach Krishna. Even if he is a devotee, if he is chanting, he should not criticize Krishna even if his chanting is not good. The the mood of a devotee towards Krishna. Instead, when a devotee's chanting is not good, he can go to the deities and he can pray, "My Lord, there is something wrong I am doing. Please help me identify, please help me rectify. I cannot live until I receive your mercy. Please don't bereft me of your mercy. Please show me your mercy." Instead of going and telling Krishna, "How can you do this to me?" So that's a conditioned soul. His devotion is too superficial. So a conditioned soul condemns the Lord when he meets reverses. Actually, it is actually a sign. I mean, we hear it, but when we go through the situation, then the situation is, "My Lord, how can I please you in this situation?" I, I still remember it was 2 a.m. in the morning, and I got up and I saw my phone and I received an email that my father passed away. And Yugal Kishore Prabhu was also up and he was chanting, and I was kind of emotionally heartbroken. And then I also started praying to Krishna, "My Lord, what should I do?" And then I wanted to go to India. Yugal Kishore Prabhu called the lawyer. The lawyer said, "Don't go." And I was in front of Nitai Pratibhavan Gaura Hari because Radha Gopinavala was not there. This like 3 4 years, 3 years back maybe. But Nitai Pratibhavan Gaura Hari tomorrow is there. I think 5th or 6th year tomorrow, the 8th of November. They came in this month of Kartik. I still remember the installation that happened in Sundar Hari Prabhu's home. Very beautiful, lot of energy when Nitai Pratibhavan Gaura Hari were installed. So I went to them and then I was praying, "What do you want me to do? Please give me the strength and please give the brother and mother and everybody the strength to go through this phase. We want to serve you." And I took that as Krishna's will for me, that I stay and continue my service. And I did that. Um, but reversals will come in life. Now these are not really reversals, I don't know what to call them, but this is the nature of this material world. Everything in this material world is temporary. The hard times will come, or the reversals will come, but it should not it should not question our faith on Krishna. um, um, we should always be in a mood of servant of the Lord, and we should always have that understanding that Krishna is my well wisher. Then only Krishna becomes pleased with us, when he sees that that's when Krishna develops faith in us, that well, in all circumstances this person devotion continues. It should not have a break. And Prabhupada writes, actually, it is not the creator, but the conditioned soul who is inexperienced. So she is blaming Krishna that certainly you are inexperienced in your creation. Um, and Prabhupada says, actually, it's not Krishna who is experienced, it's this conditioned soul who is inexperienced. Um, he does not know how the subtle laws of nature work. And without knowledge, he ignorantly criticizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a trap a devotee should avoid, is criticizing Krishna. My dear son, now uh, after blaming Krishna, uh, she turned towards her son who was dead, and she's crying loudly. And in that, um, she became mad, and she started crying and shouting, "My dear son, you have slept long time." She thought, what can God do? God is a useless person. And she started telling that child, "You get up, you get up, you have slept long enough, you get up, you please get up. Your playmates are calling you to play. Since you must be very hungry, get up and suck my milk and dissipate our lamentation. Everyone is crying." She, like, God is useless, he cannot do anything. You get up, you play and do something. We are lamenting. um, um, accompanied by his wife, when Chitraketu was silently crying when he saw such emotions of Krita Duty, who was lamenting for her dead son. Chitraketu began crying loudly with open mouth. With open mouth. Initially, he was crying, and suddenly he could not tolerate his emotions, and he began to cry loudly with open mouth, being greatly aggrieved. Seeing them, everybody started crying. All the citizens of kingdom were almost unconscious. Right at that time, when the great sage Angira, understood that the king was almost dead in the ocean of lamentation, he went there with Narad Rishi. Angira Muni knew that. That's why initially he said, "Your son will be the cause of happiness and he'll be the cause of lamentation." Now, Angira Muni and Narad Muni together, they spoke in that situation when everybody was crying, the king was wailing, the queen was criticizing Krishna, um, and the other queens were happy internally and making a show of crying. The situation was completely um, a very difficult situation to be in. Very thoughtless, emotionless situation. I mean, thoughtless situation. What to do? Nobody knows in this situation. That time, these saintly people, Angira Muni and Narad Muni, they started speaking. O king, now, when saintly person speaks, it penetrates the heart. Um, um, Especially if the saintly person is a pure devotee of Krishna. O king, what relationship does he have with you? Pointing out to the child, what relationship does he have with you, and what relationship do you have with him? Now, a question. Now, naturally, a person in ignorance say, "He is my son, I am his father." You may say that you are now related as father and son, but do you think this relationship existed before? Will it continue forever? Now, this is the first verse, or the first line, that saintly person speaks. Saintly person does not speak sweet words, but they speak enlightening words. So they said, "Was he your son some time back? When I came to you, you had no son. Will he be your son eternally? At some point of time, he will not be with you." Prabhupada writes in the purport, the instruction given by Narada and Angira Muni are the true spiritual instructions for the illusion conditioned souls. This word is temporary, but because of our previous karma, we have come here and accept bodies, creating temporary relationships in terms of friendship, love, and nationality. Oh, I am an Indian. I love this person and that person, and this is my friend, which are all finished at death. These temporary relationship does not exist in the past, nor will they exist in the future. Therefore, at the present moment, the so-called relationships are illusions. So all the relationships, Prabhupada says, in this material world are illusions. It's just a um, very very highly enlightening instructions by Angira Muni and Narad Muni. Um, 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 all relationships are temporary and all relationships are illusion. Yet at the same time, we should see, like my spiritual master says, one should see one's spouse first as a devotee of Krishna, and who is there to help me serve Krishna better. That's how our relationship should be. And children, as this is Krishna's child under my care and my responsibility, we have duties and responsibilities. My responsibility is um, um, to make arrangement so he can reawaken or strengthen his love for Krishna. Um, um, Actually, other than Angira Muni and Narad Muni, the king, the queen, the co-wives, and the citizens, everybody who was crying, according to Narad Muni, Angira Muni, um, they were covered by illusory energy of the Lord. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada does mention that um, um, when Arjuna when Arjuna's son Abhimanyu died, Arjuna cried. And Prabhupada said, it's natural to have affection. So, affection in this relationship is important. Um, 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 Yet at the same time, one is fully aware of one's relationship with Krishna and their relationship with Krishna, but because they have lost association of a person who was somehow or other connected them with Krishna in the center, they cry. Um, Even when one of the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, when he left the planet while Srila Prabhupada was alive, Prabhupada had tears in his eyes and he sincerely prayed for him. So that is all right. But in this situation, Angira Muni and Narad Muni wanted to bring out Maharaj Chitrakethu from that feeling that my son died. This my son, that was an illusion. That's what they are questioning. Was he your son before? Will he be your son eternally? Are the relationships in this world eternal or temporary? King, what do you think? Are relationships eternal or temporary? Um, the sages continued, O king, as small particles of sand sometimes come together and are sometimes separated due to the force of the waves, the living entities who have accepted material bodies sometimes. Okay, Neeru Mataji, what is your question?
Um, Prabhuji, how is the affection of Arjuna for his son Abhimanyu and Maharaj Chitrakethu for his son is different, like limitation?
Mm. Well, um, when there is a spiritual relationship with Krishna in the center, that relationship is good. Um, just like I was, affection is natural. Prabhupada says affection is natural. Um, when the relationship, when there is no Krishna in the center, then it is just he is my wife, he is my husband, and he is my children, and we are a family, and that's all. But when Krishna in the center, then it is like I want to assist him or her, so that he can advance in Krishna consciousness. I myself want to advance in Krishna consciousness. So Arjuna was a pure devotee, Abhimanyu was a pure devotee. They both were pure devotees of Krishna. So the relationship, like another instance, Prabhupada says, when a spiritual master leaves the planet, a disciple should cry. Should cry. Lack of emotions is also a sign of hard-heartedness. Like I shared this story before, some of you know. um, One time one person came to Srila Prabhupada and he said, my wife died and I did not cry, I want to take sannyas. And Prabhupada told him, get married again, because if you cannot cry for your own wife who has sacrificed so much in her life for you, how can you cry for the whole world? A saintly person is meant to have affection for the whole world. um, if you see in this material world, people who are not Krishna conscious, um, and they identify themselves as a husband, as a wife, as a children, and as an engineer, as a doctor. That is an illusion. And they are working so hard to please somebody or the else, somebody or other, and to give pleasure and to enjoy pleasure, but ultimately it's all temporary and next life will come. Nirumataji, does that answer?
Yes, Prabhuji, but Prabhuji, like though Abhimanyu and Arjuna were devotees, but like when Abhimanyu left this planet, at that time when Arjuna was lamenting, like how did he take that? He didn't think, right, that I am not in association with a devotee now. He was crying for his son, because like his son, as a like relationship of a father, that his son is died. So, so how, while at the time of lamentation we can make Krishna in the center? And because when some near or dear ones left a body, we don't think, um, like we take it as a Krishna's will, but the lamentation I'm talking, like the lamentation would not be like Krishna conscious, like, right? That was a still an affection for that person only.
That is all right. Those tears and that affection is all right. But because their heart is sold out to Krishna, in their heart they are still thinking, my Lord, how do I deal with this situation? Give me strength. They are still taking shelter of Krishna in their heart. Um, and um, because they have soft heart, they naturally cries for the pain of every living entity. What to speak about the death of their own son? Um, um, but Maharaj Chitraketu in his heart was not taking shelter of Krishna, um, um, and that's where the difference is.
Okay, Prabhuji, yes, I understood now.
You know? Like
Yes.
when I lost my family member, there were tears in my eyes, yet at the same time, um, what is your will? How do I deal with this situation? So Krishna is in the center, and then Vasana Maharaj says, once your near and dear ones, they leave this planet, um, you pray for them, because that's the only thing that you can do at that point of time. Every time I remember somebody whom I have affection for, affection develops by seva. Somebody who has served us, we will naturally be grateful to them. And um, um, and how we express our gratitude, um, through by being their well-wisher, we express their gratitude. All right. uh, who
Okay,
will
Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so as Maharaj said that like when somebody leave this world, so there will we cannot have personal loving exchange, because that can be done with the body only. So that way lamentation is okay, but again in the lamentation also we take Krishna's shelter, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you,
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay. uh, Perumal Prabhu, you go ahead.
Because I have a question on this particular verse. So it says the two souls are coming closer by the force of time. So is it like a random, or is it between the karmic results of the two souls?
Yeah, karma, Prabhu. There is nothing random.
Okay.
uh, just like the if you see the wind blows, the sand
Yes.
particle blows, they go somewhere else. Then wind blows, the sand particle blows, and they go somewhere else. So sand particle have their association with nearby sand particles only for some time. When wind blows, another. Likewise, the relationships in this world are constantly changing. All the near and dear ones who have left us, they are somebody else's children, somebody else's husband or wife, or if they're human birth, or we don't know. If they're devotees, for all of us, our parents are devotees, and it is said if one person takes a Krishna consciousness, um, and the parents gets benefited. um, but relationships in this world should not be taken so seriously that one sacrifices one own Krishna consciousness for the sake of relationships. In fact, the purpose of relationship is spiritual advancement. Srila Prabhupada, his wife was not favorable, but he would go out and chant on the stairs. So, relationship should be seen as Krishna's arrangement. Actually, Srila Prabhupada's wife was not so beautiful. When I was reading Leela Amrita, I read that, and Srila Prabhupada His father told Prabhupada that it's good that your wife is not very attractive, then you will not develop attraction for her. May you develop your attraction only for Krishna. Whatever kind of relationship we are in or we are put into, they are all according to our past. Um, but um, um, whatever be the situation, one should focus on one's Krishna consciousness. One should try to make everybody Krishna consciousness in the mood of renunciation. Like one time, Sri Gaurangi Mataji was giving a class on kids education, kids Krishna consciousness for our children, and she was mentioning, you do your best. Sometime the kids will take up, sometime the kids will not take up. You give them Krishna in a mood of renunciation. You pray for them. You pray for them because you have affection. You are serving them. By service, affection develops. Um, um, but one should not take things so seriously that one hinders one's own Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay. Ashwini Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, what is the difference between affection and attachment then?
Hmm. Somewhere I heard this. I don't remember where I heard, but that devotee was mentioning attachment is when we let the other person do wrong things, and we don't have guts to oppose them because we think, if I tell them, they'll become angry, or there will be some, like, the example is Dhritarashtra. Vidura was, Krishna was in Mathura, and Krishna wanted Vidura to go to Hastinapur and get the news of Dhritarashtra, because Kunti does not have her husband. Her 5 children may be mistreated by Dhritarashtra. So Vidura went there. Sorry, um, Ak- Akrura, who Krishna sent as a messenger to Hastinapur. All right, forgive my ignorance. So he went there, and he met Dhritarashtra. He preached to Dhritarashtra because Dhritarashtra was putting lot of affection towards Duryodhan and was discriminating between the son of Pandu, and he preached to him, but Dhritarashtra said, I accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything, but I just can't go against my son. So, although his son was doing wrong things, Dhritarashtra accepted the wrong things. That's why he became incriminated also. So, example of Dhritarashtra is given not as affection but as attachment. Um, is that all right, Ashwini Mathur?
Yes, Prabhuji, but then like what affection like then? Uh, because the attachment maybe we can say like okay, but sometimes in affection also, right? Um, we see okay, this like we try to give that person some chances. So that also comes under attachment, or like maybe.
Yeah, we based on time, place, circumstances, we may give the person chances, but then we know in our mind that whatever is best, you think that that person can advance or grow or improve in that situation. However, Krishna inspires you is all right. um, but you know, and if there is something grossly wrong, you don't support it, just like Dhritarashtra supported this robbing of Draupadi, game of dice, sending them for 14 years, all the wrong things, all the cruel intention. Dhritarashtra was supporting it. Time, place, circumstances, we act, but the intention is how the other person should improve. That's all right.
And Prabhuji, just like you said, like Sri Gaurangi Mataji in her class said, like with kids, like you do your best and leave the rest. So sometimes, like you try to give Krishna consciousness to your kids, and kids are not favorable, and after some time period of your efforts, you maybe okay, you just leave that efforts doing that, okay, let it be. Then how that thing is taken as, though they are our kids, we don't have that like that much intensity of doing that thing to them, so that they may also get this same thing. So how that thing applies?
Well, what I have heard, um, Krishna consciousness is very vast. There are many varieties of activities. Um, some of the activities kids like to do, some they don't like to do. We should not force our kids to do activities they don't like to do, especially chanting. Most of the kids don't like to chant. Um, mm, encourage them in activities that they like to do, because Srila Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and one of the purport, Hare Krishna Mahamantra requires a qualification. For one to be able to chant that mood of devotion, it requires lot of qualification. For those who do not have that qualification, they may chant, but they will not get the same experience. It requires some level of purity to be able to access the holy name, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So instead, Prabhupada writes, chanting the name of Gauranga, Nityananda, Kirtan, other forms of devotional service will give the living entity the sukriti, to be able to come to the point of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because it is so pure. So one should somehow encourage them, understanding that the soul is eternal. Whatever they do, I mean, we know the importance of chanting and yoga dharma, but at the same time, we give Krishna according to their adhikar. That is the best way to help a living entity progress in their Krishna consciousness. Just like when we try to spread this message of Krishna consciousness, some people, they take it up within 6 months, and some people after 3 years also they chant 2 rounds, and we are okay with that, as long as they are still interested in Krishna consciousness. Their sukriti, their devotion will grow, and as their qualify, we tell them one time, two times, three times, and if we see that it's not working out for them, we don't tell them anymore. Then we encourage them to do that kind of Krishna conscious activity that they like to do. They like kirtan. Okay, Prabhu, why don't you come for kirtan? We have 3 hours kirtan. Um, if they like to hear, then we tell them, well, just keep hearing Gita, take interest in that. And Prabhupada, in one of the lecture, he says, um, if you want, you can take up the chanting of the holy names directly, or if you don't want to do that, then we have books. And Prabhupada said, you can read the book, you can question, you take your time, and then you come to. So we know the ultimate thing, but we give according to what they can digest. Our principle is, um, um, their interest in Krishna should increase. If they are excited about Krishna, you are successful. But if they are feeling Krishna consciousness is a pleasure, then they may be chanting some rounds, but their free will to serve Krishna is getting suffocated. Uh,
Okay, Prabhuji. Yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yes.
thank you. Uh, can we go ahead? All right. All right. We have few more verses. Let's try to cover them. O king, as small particle of sand sometimes come together and are sometimes separated due to force of the waves, the living entities who have accepted material bodies sometimes come together and are sometimes separated by the force of time. We are not the body, we are spiritual beings trapped in the body. Our real interest um, lies in understanding this simple fact. um, then we can make further spiritual progress. Beginning of Krishna consciousness is Sambandha, that I have a loving relationship with Krishna in some form or other. That's the inspiration, and then we try to nurture that inspiration. Prabhupada continues, otherwise, if we remain in the bodily conception of life, our miserable material existence will continue forever. Um, Political adjustment, social welfare work, medical assistance, and other programs we have manufactured for peace and happiness will never endure. Why people have so many programs? Grow medically and social welfare work, or whatever we do to find our happiness. If we are not becoming Krishna conscious, we are not going to go back to spiritual world. It will continue our material existence. We keep on taking births, and then there is Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, Adi Atmik, misery because of other living entities. Still, no matter which birth we are in, our near and dear ones will go away, and we will go away. And everything that we acquire with our hard labor will also be snatched away from us. We are desiring an eternal situation because we are eternal. But if we are not working in a right direction to acquire, if you want um, to live like who you are and be happy in the way you are now, then you want Krishna. um, um, Vikas Prabhu, I'll come to you in just a minute. um, there is a pastime, Shrimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, where the Vrajvasis were astonished uh, to see Krishna, and they got a glimpse of Krishna, that he is Supreme Personality of God, and they all assembled, and they are like, Krishna is God. There is something special about Krishna. He lift Govardhan, he kill all these demons, he does all these things. No way. And then they request Krishna, especially after lifting Govardhan hill for 7 days and 7 nights. They request Krishna, can you show us spiritual world? And Krishna showed them spiritual world, and in spiritual world they found themselves exactly in the same situation like they are in this material world. Nobody considers, even if you go to Golok Vrindavan, um, 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 the life is very sweet. It's without any majesty, any opulence. Radharani still goes every day and worships sun god. Their son is Krishna only, but there is still this demigod worship. She still worships sun god, and they are just attracted to Krishna. The life is just like the life in the life there was in Vrindavan, taking care of cows. They all have their own families. Um, it's full of sweetness, um, but there is no death, there is no disease, there is no old age. Uh, there is only one suffering, that is suffering because of separation of Krishna, or suffering because of thinking of Krishna's unhappiness. Everyone is centered around giving Krishna happiness. If somebody loves children, go to Golok Vrindavan because you can play with children. Whatever you like, you get your desires fulfilled only in Golok Vrindavan. I met one family, the mother said, Prabhuji, I want to stay in this material world because I love my children. And I could not tell her, but I said, well, the best situation for you to be in this situation is in Golok Vrindavan. Because if you really like your children, I'm sorry to say, Mataji, but you will also leave this body and your children will also leave this body. No matter, this material world is frustration, because everything ends, everything is finished at some point of time. Every desire we have can be fulfilled only in Golok Vrindavan. Yes, Vikas Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Prabhuji, is only time brings us together, or we make some free will choices, or we can make some free will
No,
choices.
we don't have any choice, Prabhu. We think we have choices. But how the illusory energy of the Lord works is with our choice, we choose what is already destined. But in a true sense, we don't have any choices. Is that all right, Vikas Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. So we should not have regrets and lamentation of the past. That's what it is.
Yeah, we should see everything as Krishna's will for a devotee. See what is favorable for your Krishna bhakti. Some people thinking it is my own karma, it's very depressing to them. Then they can think that this is Krishna's will if it helps to increase their devotion to Krishna. Whatever helps for your consciousness to be favorably disposed to Krishna in a favorable way, you do that. Rupa Goswami ultimate instructions somehow or other always remember Krishna favorably. Anukulena, Anukulena. Vikas Prabhu, anything else?
No, that's it, Prabhuji. Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikas Prabhu. Ashwini Mataji.
Prabhuji, you said about the service, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, if someone has a desire which about some services, which maybe he is not able to fulfill in this birth, maybe he has that desire to serve his Guru Maharaj, but because of some circumstances, if he is not able to fulfill, and if you desire, okay, my Lord, give me one more birth so that I can serve my Guru Maharaj, like
Hmm.
fully, then like how about that desire, whether it is like spiritual material, should we desire that thing or not?
That's a great desire. That's a great desire. Prabhupada says the desire to um, serve my spiritual master in the next birth is higher than the desire that I want to go back to Godhead. Um, that's a great desire to serve my spiritual master birth after birth. Um, uh, is that all right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's continue. So, um, um, material adjustment, political adjustment, medical assistance, social welfare work, none of these things is going to actually bring peace and happiness, because the fact is that we will die and everything will be taken away no matter what the situation is. I'm coming to Niru Mataji, just reading the last line. Therefore, material life is said to be dukhalyam ashashvatam. Everything in this world is temporary. It is a reservoir of miserable conditions, Prabhupada says. Okay, Niru Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji, if I'm asking so many
Yes.
questions. Yeah, Prabhuji, as you said, like we should not lament and we should always think every situation is will of Krishna. So, like sometimes we feel that we have already um, wasted more than half life, uh, not being Krishna consciousness. So, lamenting that way is also not thinking that it was will of Krishna, or we should lament so that we can improve further. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you. Without this question, Vikas Prabhu answer would have been incomplete. Srila Prabhupada says we should limit. Srila Prabhupada says in I will clarify Vikas Prabhu if there is any question arising. Prabhupada says we should limit um, 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 that lamentation should be favorable to our devotion to Krishna. The lamentation like um, if I have taken my near and dear ones to that hospital, then his life would have been saved. This doctor was the cause, and this happened and that happened. That kind of lamentation is actually according to karma, time, place, circumstances. We should not lament in those situations. But then um, um, if we do if we engage in some sinful activity, because of power of illusory energy, we do something that is not favorable to Krishna, then we should lament, and we should lament for my Lord, um, 30 years I took to come to um, understand you. We should lament our past, what are sinful activities we have done. So those kind of anything which is favorable to Krishna should be done. Is that all right, Neenu Mata?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank
Okay,
you, Prabhuji.
thank you. Okay, all right. Moving forward, uh, there are just I think 5 6 more verses. We will finish this because then this section of we will just finish till Angira Muni and Narad Muni enlightening um, Maharaj Chitrakethu. And then we will begin the next section of Maharaj Chitrakethu response and everything else next week. When seeds are sown in the ground, they sometimes grow into plants and sometimes do not. We all have experience. We sow tulsi seeds, some come, some doesn't come. Well, uh, it's something different from here, but that's a fact. Sometimes the ground is not fertile and the sowing of seed is unproductive. Just this is an example. Similarly, sometimes a prospective father, being impelled by the potency of the Supreme Lord, can beget a child, and sometimes conception does not take place. Therefore, one should not lament over the artificial relationship of parenthood, which is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Lord. So, Angira Muni and Narad Muni is, although he was lamenting, Angira Muni and Narad Muni are trying to tell Maharaj Chitraketu, be satisfied in your situation. Everything is the will of the Lord. Be satisfied with the situation. Like I know one devotee, he was living in India, he's still living in India. He wanted to come to US and settle here and serve Krishna in a better way in US. And he tried a lot, but somehow he could not come. He could not come. Although the best situation for that devotee is, Prabhu, do not desire anything other than continuing your service. Now this sounds little difficult, but but the idea is, Narad Muni, Angira Muni wanted Maharaj Chitraketu to accept the situation as it is and understand that ultimately everything is controlled by the will of the Supreme Lord, and be satisfied in your situation and then render service in your situation. Prabhupada writes in the purport, this is something that Vikas Prabhu mentioned. Now I will come to this point of there is one exception, which is inspiration, which we may not get. Our spiritual master may give us inspiration, or for the service of Krishna, we can do anything, but this is more with respect to um, material situations. Let us read and then see if any clarification is needed. King Chitraketu was not destined to get a child by providence. And Prabhupada says in devotional service one should not desire anything. When I say one should not desire anything, it is material desires. Anya Bhilashitam Shunyam. Like Srila Prabhupada has desired to spread Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Prabhupada says to become desireless is not practical. Soul means desire. Is just translate the desire to Krishna conscious desire. The desire of Maharaj Chitraketu for having a son was not a spiritual desire. He didn't want son to give him Krishna. He wants son because he just loves children. He wants some children, and he wants somebody to become the king, and he wants somebody to perform last rites, to give him shrad ceremony perform. He just these are all not pure Krishna conscious desire. So Prabhupada says in devotional life one should not desire anything, since everything depends on the Supreme. Anya Bhilashitam Shunyam. Shunya is zero. Any other abhilash, any other desire, zero. When we strongly desire something, um, um, we should try to search within ourselves how much, even if it is Krishna's service, we should try to look within our own self. How much is it for the pleasure of Krishna and how much is it for my pleasure? We should introspect. We should not foolishly think that my desire is pure, whatever be the desire. Um, Even if I want to come to America and serve, how much is my desire pure that I want to do it? Is it because I like America? I like that situation? Is it because I'm not happy in this home, in this environment, in this situation, with this salary, with this? Um, Many times, how our desire trick us is they seems to be the living entity, especially devotees, because they have heard so much Anya Bilashitam Shunyam, they cultivate desire and satisfy themselves that this is Anya Bilashitam Shunyam, but their desires are mixed. And when we have such mixed desires, then Krishna has a plan. Um, and if we take too much anxiety for it, and if we are praying too hard, then we are kind of creating a disturbance for Krishna by forcing him, um, and we go into that mode of illusion where we kind of that situation is not very conducive. um, Instead, um, um, I prefer not to pray to Krishna for anything also, or how I want to serve my spiritual master also. I prefer in whichever way my spiritual master want me to serve, I want to serve him in that way. That is even better than I want to serve my spiritual master in this way only. Um, unless we have received instruction from spiritual master, now we should desire. There is there is this there is this clear instruction to all the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jare Dikha Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. Wherever you see, speak about Krishna. That's a general instruction. But specific desire to serve Krishna, um, we should introspect and we should be truthful to ourselves. Um, um, After going through all the emotions of whatever my little experience made me go through, I'm now cultivating the desire. However, Guru and Krishna wants me to serve. Some people serve in different people serve in different ways. Some people serve as cooking for Krishna and Vaishnavas. Some serve as pujaris. Some serve as outreach. Some serves through YouTube. Some serves um, um, Vaishnav Seva. Different people serve in different ways. However, Guru and Krishna wants me to serve as long as um, see um, this is a little deep subject matter. One can have a certain inspiration. One can pray to Krishna, my Lord, if you so desire. You can you can allow that. Actually, spiritual desire, any kind of spiritual desire is good, but at least add, my Lord, if you so desire. Um, I have seen both situations. I have seen devotees taking lot of anxiety to serve in a particular way, and then they were not allowed to do so, at least for the time being. And after many decades, Krishna fulfilled those desires. But in the beginning, those desires were not fulfilled. So many times, Krishna just take lot of time to fulfill certain desires of devotees. um, it's okay. We should take inspiration from our spiritual master and desire um, um, Actually, as I'm thinking more about it, um, any kind of spiritual desire is okay. Um, mm, just keep it within the zone of Krishna. And Krishna is giving me these thoughts of Kalakanta Prabhu, and my own spiritual master had a strong desire for Vrindavan forest many decades back, and Krishna reciprocated him in a way by giving Govardhan eco village, and he said my desire was fulfilled, and Krishna helped me. Well, any kind of desire is okay. Just keep it within Krishna. Keep it Krishna centered. Okay. Any material desire, Anya Vilashitam Shunyam. One should act only to develop Krishna consciousness. For everything else, one should depend upon the Lord. We should not create plans that will ultimately make us frustrated. Here it is referred to I will have a child, I will do this is what I want. And the cause of frustration is desire. One time, one devotee from Farmington Hills asked one question to Ramapal Maharaj. Maharaj, I'm chanting 16 rounds. I'm initiated devotee, serving the deities, taking care, raising my children Krishna consciousness. Why I'm still unhappy? And Ramapal Maharaj says, because you have material desires. I mean, when I heard that, I thought only a spiritual master can speak so strongly and so straightforwardly. And she said, everything I'm doing, the way we are instructed, following four regulated principles, then why I'm still not happy in Krishna consciousness? And Mara says, because you have material desires. As long as material desires are there, there will be frustration. Material desires means it is not anya bilashitam shunyam. There are some abhilash. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, to enlighten you, I, Angira, became your son through the influence of Maya. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, actually, you are not entitled, Maharaj Chitrakettu, to have a son. But if I give you any instruction that point of time, I wanted to give you Krishna. But if I give you at that point of time, because you are too caught up with your desires, you will not listen to me. So I gave you this experience of giving you a son. A sage can expand. Prabhupada says 7 times. A pure devotee can expand actually. So Angira Muni himself appeared as the sun. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that. And just so that he come to um, this realization, because when the desire are fulfilled and when they are frustrated, and when we kind of are over with that phase, then we can actually hear the message of Krishna. And that's when Angira Muni and Narad Muni saw that Maharaj Chitraketu is ready for a spiritual message. It will penetrate at this point of time. They both came. Okay. Okay. Both you and your advisors, wives and ministers, as well as everything moving and non-moving throughout the entire cosmos at this time, are in a temporary situation. You are all not together before your births and will not be together after death. Therefore, the situation now is temporary, although it is not false. So you have your 10 million wives, your advisors, your ministers, your citizens, your praja, your soldiers, your everything. The whole situation is temporary. It's temporary. And we see this, it is not false, but it is temporary. Just by the wave of time, now you are the king and everything has come together in this way. And within few years, everything will be lost. Everything will be scattered and everything will be in different, everybody will be in their different destinations and places based on their karma. This verse also comes similar thing in the story of Maharaj Bharat. Maharaj Bharat was the king, became a deer, became Jad Bharat, and as Jad Bharat he was carrying King Rahugana, and King Rahugana said, "How can you not? I am the king. How can you cause inconvenience to me?" At that time, Jad Bharat said, "My dear sir, you are a king, but it's a temporary situation. Couple of lifetimes back, I was the king. I was in your position, and now I am your servant. Likewise, you are a king now. In future, where you will be, you don't know. So everything in this, all relationship and all situations are temporary. Within 100 years, every living entity on this planet will die. At least in this age of Kali Yuga, nobody, no human lives more than 100 years. Everybody will die. All our relationships and situation and jobs and positions and power and influence will be finished within 100 years. Everything will change, and we all will be in new sets, new bodies, new relationships, everything new. And this keeps on going and going and going and going and going. So everything is temporary, but if you want a permanent, then there is Golok Vrindavan, which is very sweet. And Prabhupada says it is just like a dream. A dream does not exist before one falls asleep, nor does it continue after one awakens. The period for dreaming exists only between these two, and therefore it is false in a sense that it is impermanent. We do not lament for the situation in a dream before the dream takes place and after it is over. So, during the dream or during a dream-like situation, one should not accept it as factual and lament about it. This is real knowledge. So Prabhupada explains this situation, how everything is temporary, by a dream situation. But he says this is real. What we are going through is not a dream, but it is like a dream. Before, it was something different. After dream, but when we are in the dream, everything sounds so real, and everything sounds eternal. Likewise, in our life, everything sounds eternal, but the thing is, it's temporary. Just like dream looks very factual, um, but does not have existence before and after. But the situation we are in, it's actually factual, um, 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 but it is temporary, just like a dream. Everything looks real, that I am this body, I have this hair, I wear this specs, and these are my relationship. In those perspective, everything looks so real, but the whole situation is temporary, and our identifying ourselves in that situation is that is an illusion. Everything is the Lord's play. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, maybe just, I know we are maybe 5, 10 more minutes before we conclude. I will go faster. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master and proprietor of everything, is certainly not interested in the temporary cosmic manifestation. Nonetheless, I think I'm feeling we should stop here at this point of time, and we'll continue from the sixth verse, because I know there are 15 slides. I don't think we can focus really. Any last minute question before we end?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay. So we will end here. Vancha kalpa tarubhesha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Dandavad Pranam Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.